Welcome back to Vox and Apex, the podcast that puts a voice in comics. I'm your host, Michael Corley. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are covering Classic X-Men number 70, titled Final Battle. We open with the Brood. They have captured one of the giant space whale and Akanti, gentle creatures of space. Some say that they have existed as long as there has been a universe. The Brood are talking to one another and saying that they have infected it with the Slaver virus, and already it is destroying the creature's higher reasoning centers. Soon it will be completely tractable, and they will turn it into one of their ships. When suddenly the Brood see a bright light and they say, "What is that?" They get their answer, but it's a final answer. Her name is Binary. She used to be Carol Danvers, but her experimentation at the hands of the Brood have transformed her into a super-powered being, almost beyond imagination. She has been able to tap in to a white hole, and with it, she can generate the power of a star, heat, light, gravity, energy in all of its forms. And she's using it to avenge the X-Men and herself. The Brood resist. They fire back at her. They shoot their energy beams. But it does them no good. She destroys building after horde of Brood. She is settling down to release the Akanti. The huge space whale, it responds with a shriek. With its remaining mind, it telepathically communicates with her. She begins to cry. She's never heard anything so beautiful as the song of the Akanti. She can tell that its voice is a shadow of its true self. This virus that the Brood have infected it with will soon render it a vegetable. And she asks it, "Releasing you won't do any good, will it? You'll never be free of the virus. There's only one thing that I can do for you. Is it truly what you want?" The Akanti answers yes, and using the power of the star, she disintegrates the beast before it can become a slave of the Brood. She flies off the planet looking for the next colony of Brood to destroy, when suddenly Storm appears in front of her in space. Carol Danvers is able to survive in space now as Binary, but Storm certainly can't. But this is a projection of Storm. And she is telling Carol to come and join the X-Men. And she sees a young Akanti. Storm leads her into its mouth. Carol asks, "Is this really necessary?" She says, "Don't worry, I won't bite." Storm is, of course, explaining that she and the Akanti have become one. We, in fact, see an embryo, a small sac of Storm's body. It is little more than muscle and bone, ravaged by the vacuum of space. Carol apologizes for almost killing all of the X-Men when she left, leaving them in a state of explosive decompression as they were almost sucked out of the ship. But everything worked out okay. The X-Men and Lilandra are talking of vengeance upon the Brood. But Storm needs to tell them that they are here for a purpose greater than vengeance. She needs them to help save the Akanti race. She explains, by way of flashback, that the Akanti were an enormous race of space whales that flew freely throughout the vacuum of space, peaceful creatures that would sing to one another throughout the cosmos, doing no harm. But the Brood, who had come to our galaxy from another, leaving a terrible battle, had found these creatures and was attracted to their ability to naturally fly faster than the speed of light. Using their slaver virus, they attacked the Akanti, and one of the first to fall was the Prophet Singer. The Prophet Singer was literally the caretaker of the soul of the Akanti, and with her being enslaved, the rest of the Akanti had a terrible problem. They could not leave, just flee from the Brood, but neither could they stay too close. And so, falling in this terrible balance, they were continually hunted by the Brood turning them into their space vessels, and even when they died, turning their carcasses into giant cities on planets. But then something amazing happened. a new prophet singer was born. But even as she was about to be born, the mother was attacked by the brood. In fact, the mother was the one that was destroyed by Carol Danvers, by Binary. She had to give premature birth to let her child be free from the virus. If the brood captured this prophet singer, it would mean the end of the Akanti race. As the small creature, alone and afraid, fled from the brood, she felt the death cry of Storm as she fired off her energy in the night. And the young creature came and used its abilities to rescue Storm, restore her body to health. And in the process, the embryo that was inside Storm was killed. Storm is explaining that the original prophet singer, the soul of the Akanti, is still lodged inside its skull, in that carcass. And if the X-Men can free the soul and let it join with the new prophet singer, all of the remaining Akanti will be free. They won't have to stay near the brood. They can flee and seek out other parts of the galaxy away from the brood and save their race. The X-Men agree to help, but they don't know if they'll be able to do it before they themselves are transformed into brood. We cut to billions of miles later. The young Akanti is flying across a landscape of the brood homeworld. It is being chased by the space sharks, another spaceship of the brood fired upon. But this itself is a diversion. The X-Men are going into action. They jump onto Lilandra's teleporter from her space yacht, and Kitty can't resist saying, "Energize, Scotty! Beam us down!" Honestly, Kitty, I would have said the same thing. The young Akanti flies off the planet, and all of the brood's forces come after her. But before she left, the X-Men and Lilandra were able to teleport onto the brood homeworld. We see the brood queen getting reports from the various brood. The queen is saying that we have to capture that Akanti. If we do, we will own the Akanti for all time. When suddenly she receives another message. This message is from one of the brood inside the X-Men. It has already begun the transformation, but the other X-Men are not aware. It is warning the queen of the X-Men's plan. The queen does not want the X-Men killed because they are all about to change into brood, but she wants them captured so that they can join the brood race. Meanwhile, we see the Akanti fleeing. The brood are closing in on the small space whale. They are going to destroy it when suddenly something appears. It flies between the brood ship. It is glowing like a star. In fact, it is using the energy of a star. It is none other but Binary. The brood realize too late that it's a trap, and the hunter becomes the prey. Storm, having joined with the Akanti, hates the brood with all of her being, but she can't draw herself still to kill. But using her power, she is able to generate lightning from the Akanti that she has joined with and fire it upon a brood ship, stunning everyone on board. Down on the brood homeworld, the X-Men are having to fight all of the scavengers that live in the carcass of the giant Akanti. One of the creatures grabs hold of Kitty Pryde and hurls her into a wall. She is able to phase and gets out of its grasp. Wolverine is sniping back and forth with Cyclops, and Wolverine's thinking to himself, why is Cyclops doing this? This is like back when we used to really hate each other. Kitty is phased through the wall and lands among a bunch of broken eggs. And she sees among the nest that she's in skeletons of the brood. What could have killed so many broods? One of the eggs has cracked open, and she doesn't see it. But a reptilian creature is following her. Meanwhile, Carol is hit by one of the brood's energy blasts. They are firing out grappling tentacles to hold her. They're going to flood her with the Slaver virus so that she will be under their control. Storm and the Akanti are hit by a beam. It goes right through one of the space whale's fins. She is thinking that she must flee, when suddenly out of warp comes a ship, a yellow ship, a ship we have seen before. It is the Starjammers. Back when the X-Men disappeared on Earth, Scott Summers' father That is Christopher Summers, now known as Corsair, said that he was going in search of them. Apparently, he's found them back on the Brood homeworld. The X-Men are fighting as best they can. Wolverine notices that Cyclops is firing badly with his optic blast. How could that be? Cyclops has complete control over his optic blast suddenly. Wolverine has a terrible suspicion. He leaps forward and tackles Cyclops, pulls off his optic visor. His eyes are now yellow and insect-like. They are ridged with the scales of a brood. Freed from his optic visor, he's able to fire in 2 directions at once. Lilandra is saying to Nightcrawler, use your teleporting abilities to keep him occupied. My energy sword will do the rest. Yes! Lilandra has a lightsaber. Awesome. But before they can do any of that, the Brood appear behind them, fire energy blasts, and stun all of the X-Men except for Cyclops. Did I say except for Cyclops? Of course, there is Kitty, who had phased to the wall. She is running from the Brood. They are firing upon her, but of course it has no effect. She is phased. She's becoming tired. She's getting disoriented. She doesn't know where to go. She loses her concentration. She can't phase without concentration, and now she's too tired. The creatures that are upon her, they're wrapping their tentacles around her. They're going to kill her. When a tiny, tiny voice says, him. The Brood turn. What was that? And the Brood scream in terror and say, by the Black Nebula! And a dragon appears with a roar. The Brood scream, flee, brothers! The dragon breathes fire, and all of the Brood are incinerated. Kitty looks with wonder at this dragon. And what we thought at first was a giant creature turns out to be an adorable little purple dragon with a yellow belly the size of a chihuahua. She says, are you friendly? You must be. I'm still alive. When suddenly a Brood sneaks up behind them, it fires an energy blast. The little creature says, yikes! But the energy blast opens up a chamber that Kitty couldn't see before. There's something behind it, a light. Kitty says it's so beautiful. The Brood says, no, it burns! It burns! She says, what are you talking about? There's no pain, only music calling to me. The dragon flies away, but almost as if they are no longer of their own control, Kitty and the Brood walk into the blinding light. Now the X-Men who are regaining consciousness are all tied up, shackled, while the Queen waits for them to transform into Brood. Suddenly Cyclops doubles over in pain. The Brood Queen tells it to endure the pain, my daughter. It's just the host body resisting the metamorphosis. But the optic blasts of the eyes go out of control. The Brood that is taking over Cyclops fires and hits the Brood Queen. Wolverine realizes that he has a chance, a very, very slight chance. He jumps directly into the path of Cyclops' nearly irresistible beams, firing at full blast. Wolverine aimed his jump so that his shackles would take the blunt of the blast. As it was, it nearly killed him outright. He's bruised, he is injured, his clothes are almost incinerated. But it paid off. He's able to use Cyclops' transforming Brood's confusion to deck him with a punch. He then puts his fist against the Brood Queen's head. He tells the rest of the Brood to drop their weapons, or she dies. And now release the X-Men. When suddenly a bright light fills the chamber, we see Kitty Pryde. She's almost glowing. She has a serene look on her face. She says that she found the soul. She went in and met it with a Brood, and the soul found the Brood wanting. Everyone is glad to see she's alive, and she says, did anyone happen to see a little flying creature? No? Okay. The X-Men and the Brood Queen walk into the light chamber. It is made of crystal. It is the soul of the Akanti. They look down, and they see that the Brood Queen is beginning to taint the bottom of the soul chamber with black, and the X-Men as well. Their feet are also, because they are infected with the Brood. The Brood Queen takes this opportunity to strike. She strikes Wolverine in the back with her twin venom tail. Wolverine slices off her stingers, but the venom is too terrible and he's too injured. He falls. He looks up only to see all of the X-Men are beginning to transform. Wolverine is about to move forward to kill the X-Men before they can become Brood, when suddenly Carol Danvers, Binary, flies in and stops him. Why? Why did she stop him? She leans down, contacting with the floor of the Akanti soul, and using her powers as Binary, sends the essence of the creature flying up into space, flying up toward the Akanti that has joined with Storm. And the soul of the Akanti and the Prophet Singer are once more complete. Once and for all, the Akanti are free. Binary is exhausted from the effort of this task. She goes to check on Wolverine, who's near death, though his healing factor is finally beginning to save him. He's telling her, we have to go and finish it. We can't let them transform into Brood. But as she turns, she sees that the process of freeing the soul, so much energy of light and purity, has cured all of the X-Men. And the Brood Queen has been transformed into crystal. But now the planet is beginning to shake. The process of freeing the Akanti soul has put the planet under stress. It is soon going to be destroyed. And using a device that looks suspiciously like a communicator from Star Trek, she contacts the Starjammers, and all of them are teleported to safety. Kitty is thinking, oh, that poor little dragon, I hope he's going to be okay. I didn't even have a chance to say goodbye. And a few moments later, the Sleazoid world, I love that that's what it's called, is removed from the celestial stage. Now all of the X-Men are being tended to by Sikorsky, the little tiny insectoid robot doctor of the Starjammers. And among all of the healed X-Men comes Storm. Storm has been fully healed by the Akanti, and now that it is rejoined with the Prophet Singer soul, it is leading its people to another part of the galaxy. Everyone wants to celebrate. They want to be happy. They've won. But Wolverine says it's not over. Not quite yet. He says before the Brood Queen died, she boasted about another royal host, an embryo that threatened Earth itself. And he figures there is only one person who's come in contact with them who could be hosting it. Charles Xavier. And that ends Classic X-Men number 70. I hope you've enjoyed The Brood. We've still got one more. We got to wrap this up with Charles Xavier being infected by a Brood Queen. What will happen? Who knows? But I know that I appreciate it. If you are enjoying these Vox in a Boxes, go to iTunes. Give me an iTunes review. I appreciate it. It really helps people find the show. You have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.